Special Olympics are certainly about joy.
I'm getting a hug.
Are you ready? Show me you ready for the greatest moment of your entire life.
I feel amazing. It's so much fun. Everybody should try it.
I'm actually proud of myself that I came so far.
I'm really proud that Ukraine has an opportunity to be here and people around the world are supporting us.
Hold up, look back, be proud of yourself. We all together ain't gotta hide yourself. I mean, the spirit you got inside yourself.
When she was born, I could never have imagined that she would ever do anything like this.
This is, I think, the most important event in the world. Amazing with lots of emotion.
It's incredible.
Congratulations, darling. Wow.
It's brilliant. I'm very happy.
You make a lot of friends and it's very fun. The bonds will never be forgotten, I think.
Güzel, belli güzel, belli sağlık. Seviyorum, belli sizi seviyorum.
Are you ready?
Hello, everyone. This is Mike Koss, and welcome to another edition of Kevadvotech. I'm thrilled and excited today to be introducing my special guest, Mairead Daly. This is my very first international guest. I was just talking to Mairead about this before we started the podcast here a second ago, but I'm thrilled. We're finally going international here at Kevadvotech. Mairead, I met, Mairead, maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but we were work colleagues. We both worked for 2 different companies, but we had business functions that required us to work together. And I always enjoyed you, Mairead. You were very good to work with. We were alliances partners, but we had to get our jobs done, right? And negotiate our best deals for both our respective companies. So
exactly.
I always had a lot of respect for you, but more importantly, I enjoyed working with you. You have the right style and flair to enjoy and trust someone. So thank you. But
that's nice.
I learned along the way after I was retiring off the corporate grid that Mairead is very much involved in Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about that. And she did something quite exciting, very recent. I did not know there was a Special Olympics World Games. And I read a little bit about that. And I'm going to let Mairead share that shortly. But Mairead, let me introduce you. Let me ask you to introduce yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about you, your family, and what you do, how you got started in Special Olympics. So welcome.
Thank you. And I am very excited to be an international guest. I've never been called that before, so that's the first for me.
My international star.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, so it's been an odd journey for me. So it's a strange one because people are always saying, "Oh, you're so good to be involved in Special Olympics," but it really stemmed from something that was completely selfish. So I used to play basketball back in my youth, and I really wanted to get into some kind of a fitness regime that was not too, strict, a little bit prohibitive. So I thought I'll go back to playing basketball. And after about 7 minutes, my knees just went, you might think you're 17, but you're not. It's not going to happen. So a friend of mine was volunteering with a Special Olympics club, and she said, just come along and try and see how you go. That was in 2019, and I've just been there since. I just absolutely love it. People think that you give so much, but you actually get so much from Special Olympics. Like, we have a thing at work. I'm a DEI champion, and we talk about bring your authentic self to work. That's why I love Special Olympics, because I can be my authentic self there. I am quite loud at times. I'm a bit bossy at times. I can be a bit socially awkward at times. And all of that is perfectly acceptable. And not only that, it's welcomed within Special Olympics. So for that reason, I absolutely adore being part of this organization. It's fantastic for me.
Perfect fit. a perfect
Yeah,
fit for you, right?
exactly. Yeah, it
Hey,
really does.
before we go too much further, I think our audience could guess this. I don't think I blurted out 2 minutes ago actually where you're from as my international guest, but I see, of course, your Ireland things in the background. So tell the audience exactly where you live and what community you're involved in with Special Olympics.
So I am from Ireland, west of Ireland. It's called Galway is where I live, and I was born in County Clare, so it's just a little bit south. And what you see in the background there, they're my Munster flag. So I'm a big Munster rugby supporter. And living here in Galway is part of Connacht. So it's real important to me that people realise that not a Connacht lady, I'm a Munster lady. So that's why I've got them up on my wall. And the Canadian flag that you can see there, an athlete gave me that while I was at the World Games. So that's why it's got a special place. And all the other bits that you see on my wall, I've got she's 13 now, but every now and again, my daughter will write me a note or do me a little picture or give me a certificate, depends on the mood that she's in or what she's looking for. So I hang them up here and we change them every now and again. So
that's beautiful.
That's the background. Yeah. So I know it looks a bit messy and chaotic. Behind that is, I'm a big into Halloween and Christmas. So behind that is about 60 storage boxes of all my decorations. So my husband doesn't want to see those, so they get hidden behind that wall.
I love the background. That's
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So you got a little collage back there. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
So your Special Olympics involvement, is it local right in your community or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it is. So it's called, the club that I'm chairperson of right now is called Galway Tribes. And we started back after COVID when I took over the club, and we had 16 athletes. And we finished the end of last season, last July, at 39 athletes. And we're about to start back in September, and I signed up my 63rd athlete.
Wow.
So it's huge. And not only, so that club itself it's quite good, it's quite established now. We bought, like, the start of last year, we had 27 athletes, we had 2 volunteers, we had 10 basketballs, 2 of which were burst, and a hall that had loads of stuff in it. It was an absolute chaotic nightmare. So we did loads of grant applications and loads of things. We got loads of equipment, and I'm very excited that the place that club is in now and ready to go again in October. So much so that I said, I'm a little bit bored now. So I'm starting up 2 more clubs this October. So 2 more in the locality. And that kind of just shows the need that's there for within the community.
So this is all everything you're just describing, Mairead. This is all basketball?
All basketball.
It's that popular, huh?
It's actually, is it that popular as a sport? No. And so when I started with this club, I was very much, because I'm a process engineer, and my process says you will arrive at 7 o'clock, we will do a warm up, we will do the drills that I have spent 2 hours all week deciding what they're going to be. We will do our cool down, we will all say hello and goodbye, and we'll all walk off. And then you get to club and they go, no, that's not how it works, Mairead. No. So I would say that of the 63 athletes that we have, I would say 15 love basketball, and everybody else is there for social reasons. They're just there to meet their friends, have some fun, because there's just so little clubs for people with intellectual disabilities to join that when one opens up, they just all go there. So with the last note that we put out looking for expressions of interest for the 2 new clubs, in it we said on the form, is there anything else you'd be interested in? And we listed out, 8, 9 different things. Tick, 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 tick. So we got another 40 athletes, all wanting to join basketball and all wanting to do every other sport that we mentioned on the list. So there is a huge appetite there. I suppose that's where I'm trying to get to. So I started this with the Special Olympics basketball club. But my future, my goal is that it's not just basketball, it's all these other sports. But the ultimate aim that I have is that we get to, it's another thing the Special Olympics run, is called unified sports. And that for me that's inclusion. So inclusion is what I really want to be involved in. Right now, Special Olympics means you've got people with intellectual disabilities here, you got people that are mainstream over here, and it's not really inclusion because they're still not joined.
Right.
Whereas
Now,
unified sports has people of the same sporting ability playing alongside each other, and that's
yep.
really special to see.
Two questions that come to mind. One is, are the people that you're involved with, the individuals, are these all female or male and female?
Male and female, so
Okay.
mixed
Okay.
gender, mixed ability. Our club up till last year had been just really, well, I'd say 16 plus. And I
Okay.
had so many requests for the 10 to 16-year-old that we decided to expand our club last year. And that's really where this huge, big cohort of kids that see up to 10 years, kids with intellectual disabilities and kids without, you can't really tell the difference because they're all sort of fumbling along and falling
Sure.
over and doing whatever. So you really don't know. And it's only really from 10 onwards that that gap becomes so apparent. Like
Yeah.
so many of the parents would have said to me, they're absolutely fine doing the drills, the warm-ups, all of that, everything like that, that all works perfectly. When you come to a match, they just stand there lost and they don't know what to do. And that's where those parents struggle because the kid has, he's trained hard like everybody else has, but never get game time because they don't know what to do in a match because that's where you have to use decision making and that's where they struggle so much. So
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
So all
No,
ages.
that's good. So as far as inclusion, I mean, you're more than halfway there, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
you have females and males, boys, girls,
Yep.
which is great.
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned too, I understand completely and appreciate that. You talked about, yeah, a lot of them may not necessarily be there for the basketball, right? And but it's all about socialization. I can
Yes.
imagine that a number of friendships have been built from
Oh yeah.
activities, right?
And I love seeing that, Mike. I absolutely adore seeing that. Whether sometimes the friendships aren't always wanted, but there are,
Right.
so many pockets of them, and you see them coming in at the very start, and they're a little bit shy and they're a little bit quiet, and they don't know what to do. And I'll say, okay, we've got a new athlete. Come on, everybody, gather around. I say, so this is Mike. He's our new athlete, and they all go, right, we know him already. We know him from swimming. We know him from bocce. We know him from what? Who are you? Who are you? Like we know these. So they have all met each other somewhere along the way because
Sure.
Galway really isn't that big. So, for example, Down Syndrome Galway would have a really good community. They have great WhatsApp groups, great communication channels. They host a lot of different, one-off events. So they would meet regularly in that kind of sense, but not in a team bonding thing. And that's the
Right.
real difference. Like they're week after week, they're meeting these guys and the friendships are blooming and it's just lovely to see it, Mike. It really is. You see kids that barely will talk. There's so many of them would be nonverbal, but they find their own communication
Right.
way.
They know how to
Yeah,
communicate, and it's interesting how they can understand each other too without being,
yeah,
totally coherently verbal, right?
exactly.
It's a beautiful thing to see, right? And
Yeah. And sometimes you don't need to understand. You just need to bounce the ball beside somebody else, but you're with them.
right.
So it doesn't matter that it's not a verbal communication. It's lovely. It's really lovely seeing it. Yeah.
Now, given what's the environment like? So, do you play basketball indoors all the
Yes.
time, or sometimes
Yeah.
outdoors, or
No, Mike, this is Ireland.
this?
No.
I was just gonna say it's
No, there's no good time in Ireland. I mean, this past summer, it just literally has not stopped raining all the time. So there is it's indoors the only real option. And we've been so incredibly lucky. There's a secondary school that's allowed us use of their facilities free of charge, which is just amazing. It's a spanking new facility. We're the envy of so many clubs. And they've been just so good to us, allowing us have that. So it's always indoor, yeah. But
nice.
because it's grown so big, we've had to split it into 3 separate groups. So we've around about 20 athletes at a time. So
Okay.
we've got an under 16 male team, an over 16 male team, and then a female team. And it's around about 20, 23, 24 in each group then. So yeah, it's
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So let's segue to, I saw your announcement out there a few months ago. We're connected on Facebook,
Yeah.
to both of us, and you shared that you and others from your area were going to the Special Olympic World Games. And
Oh,
like I said, I was not very much aware of this activity or this event at all. So
it's
tell us
huge.
about it.
I'm getting goosebumps again just thinking about it. It was just such an incredible time. It's hard to kind of put it into perspective. So if I tell people like my wedding was up here, my daughter's, being born was up here. Special Olympics World Games was up here. It was
Wow.
just such huge emotion day after day after day. From the small little things like everybody gets to have I'm gonna knock everything. You get these volunteer accreditations.
Yeah.
And the big thing then is you gather badges. So let me see those ones.
So
So
this
these
was in first before we keep going. So this was
oh yeah,
hosted
sorry, I'm
in
bad.
Berlin, right?
In
Berlin,
Berlin,
Germany.
exactly, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Berlin. So there was, I think, I can't remember how many athletes from Ireland went, but and I should have had that mic for you. I'll send it on
It's
so you can
okay.
edit it in afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's a global event, so people from all over the world will come to it. So you have Special Olympics from every country, and they each bring a delegation. Um, it's really unfair in its fairness as to how athletes are picked. So it's not like Olympic Games where if you're the best at your sport, you qualify to go to the Olympics. With Special Olympics, say for example with basketball, every athlete is graded 1 to 4. They put number 4 doesn't get to go because they wouldn't have the basketball ability to play on a world stage. It would just be too much.
Sure.
So they put numbers 1 to 3 in a bowl and they pick out a number. And every athlete then that's graded 2, their names all go into a bowl and they pick out 10 athletes. And that's how you get to go or not go. So it's
Oh,
completely down by luck. And
yeah.
it is fair in that it means everybody has the same chance, regardless of ability.
Hmm.
But it's unfair in that for those that are of the highest ability don't naturally get to go. So it's
Right.
it's a
You got to
hard
have a little luck, it sounds like,
absolutely, yeah.
timing and luck. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had 4 athletes that tried out to go on the basketball team, and the grade 2 was pulled out, so only one of our athletes was eligible, and her name didn't get pulled. So
Okay.
it was difficult for me as a manager of the club to say, I'm sorry, none of you got to go. I've been selected as a volunteer, so I'm getting to go, but you guys can't. So
Yeah.
it was a very hard discussion,
Oh,
but
I'm sure. But at the same time, I'm sure your community was proud and excited for you,
very
right?
much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much. And I was so excited to go. Like I knew what this was going to mean. And it was when once I got involved, Special Olympics, this was my goal to get to World Games. And when it was in Berlin, I thought, I'm not going to get a better chance. That's only a jump across the seas for us. From
Yeah.
Ireland to Berlin is 2 hour flight. So it's a no-brainer. Like next year's one is potentially in Australia. That's going to be a harder sell to the
I
family.
saw that on the schedule. I think they run these almost like the regular Olympics where there's
Exactly.
every 2 years.
Every
Well,
4 years.
every four there's a
Yeah,
summer game, and every four there's a winter game, and they space them out so there's something
correct.
going on
Every
every
two.
2 years, right?
Exactly. But you would generally have the athletes involved in the winter would unlikely be involved in the summer just because of the type of sport that it is.
Yeah.
Not that it couldn't happen, but yeah. So it's running a 4 year cycle. So year one is you're in training and development. Year two, you do your regional. Year three is your national, and year four then is your World Games. And
Right.
otherwise, it's run similar sports that what you would have at the Olympic Games. They're trialing some new ones this year. So, for example, they were looking at maybe bringing in hockey into the next World Games. So it's really interesting. And the level, oh my God, Mike, the level that you see at it is just incredible. It really is. It was just unbelievable. And all the different sports that are there, it's fabulous to watch.
You have I saw on the list too, was there bowling competition?
It's called bocce.
Okay.
So it's like bowls. So you roll a little white ball, and the bowling was there as well. Yeah, so the 10-pin bowling was there as well. Bocce was the one that I was involved with.
Okay.
You got table tennis, you've got athletics, you've got basketball, volleyball. Oh, I can't horse riding, swimming, all the normal ones you'd see.
Sure. Well, I was asking too because many of my friends are friends in the Villages, Florida, which I do a lot of coverage on podcasts like this, all these incredible things that we've got going program wise for our special needs adult community. They get involved in Special Olympics, and then there's other programs too. And bowling, the traditional 10-pin bowling in the bowling alley is very popular among our kids right here in Florida. So that's why I was asking.
It's a brilliant one across the ages, across the abilities, and across the genders. Bowling is a great one for that. Yeah, for sure. It's good.
Now, when you were there as a volunteer, so there were 4 athletes from your community, it sounds like, right?
Three from, so
3 and then plus you.
Well, so 3 or 4 that tried out, so none of those were successful, but 3 were actually successful in getting there for kayaking and gymnastics.
Okay.
So, they went as well,
Okay. So as a volunteer, were you there? Were you coaching basketball, or were you there to help out in every way and any way possible? I mean, tell us about what you did as a volunteer in Berlin.
Well, that was the absolute icing, right? So I applied to be a volunteer. They accepted me as a volunteer, and then they gave me the role as an awards volunteer for basketball. So I was just, this can't get any better. And then when I got there, they assigned me also to not only basketball awards, but also to bocce awards. I did some volleyball awards, and there's something else I can't actually think. And just general volunteering. Yeah. But like that was my ultimate dream, was going to World Games. I didn't realize I had more that it could get. So when they asked me to do the basketball awards, I thought, oh my God, because Ireland's female basketball team were at the World Games. And I thought, can you imagine if I was involved in that? And I was. It was just incredible, absolutely incredible. So when the Ireland team won gold medal at the Olympic Games,
you were the one.
I was the one holding the tray of medals for the VIP to present the medals to them. So I was right there, standing right beside them as they got it. My hands were shaking so bad. It was unreal. So, and that for me, I thought, oh my God, like this really and truly, like nothing more can get better than this. So that team had finished. There was 3 more award ceremonies to happen, and the last VIP that they had scheduled to be there said, I'm so sorry, I have to leave. So the guys running the event turned around, looked at all the volunteers and said, Mairead, and they said, okay, you manage a basketball club in Ireland. You are the most senior person here. So will you become the VIP, and as the chairperson for Galway Tribe's Special Olympics Basketball Club, will you be the VIP and present the next set of medals?
Wow. That was not a hard one to answer, right?
I said, I'll be back in a minute. I have to have a little teary moment over here, collect myself. It was just an unbelievable to represent my club at the Special Olympics World Games. I'm getting emotionally in my just brutal. So it was just fabulous. I just adored every minute of it. And that's where that Canadian flag came from. It was one of the athletes at that gave me that flag. So I have that as a really special memory of that time.
Well, I was just going to ask you, if you could share a special moment. I'm sure you have many, but share a special moment. I mean, about, maybe perhaps one of the competitors or maybe
Yeah.
even one of the spectators. I don't know, but
Like you say, Mike, so many. I mean, on a daily basis, I cried 6 or 7 times, but like I cry easy, so that's not saying a lot. But an example, say we were doing the Bocce Awards, and the way that the Bocce Awards platform was, it was two ramps on either side, and then kind of went flat at the top. So all the athletes were kind of on the flat bit at the top. But it was quite steep getting up the two ramps at either end. So one of our athletes that had come, I think she had come, yeah, in fourth position, was in a wheelchair. So quite a lot of the bocce athletes would be in wheelchair because it's predisposed to that in sport.
sure.
So she was in her position in fourth place, and the athlete in third place, because they all love and hug each other and chat all the time, right? So she
Yep.
turned around and she said, "Oh, how is she getting up there?" Now, the athlete in third position was from Iran. The athlete in fourth position was from, oh, I can't remember. It was one of the African countries. I can't actually remember right now which. So
Okay.
there was a language barrier,
Yeah.
but they just did a, you know, like that was the signal. And there was a coach there, and the coach like, me do it. And
Mhm.
the other athlete said, "Oh, please, me, I do it." So normally something like that isn't allowed. There's a strict protocol, a strict process, a strict everything. I don't know. This is too special. This is
Yeah.
just too
Let
special.
be
But
part of the moment, right? Let the
yeah,
moment play out
oh,
itself. Yeah.
so all of us were bawling, crying. So the two athletes were crying, the coaches, the two coaches, I was crying, and then when they rolled them up, everybody looking on was crying. Oh, it was a really, really, really special
Wow.
moment. It was incredible. Yeah, it was and so many of those all day
Yeah.
long. It was just so brilliant. Like
And
this,
how
and
how
this is
many how many days did you spend there?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Every
Wow.
2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. This is what I was showing you earlier. So this is the big thing there. So every athlete that's there, they come with their badges. So for example, say this one is Australia. I won't remember all my countries now, but this one is it's a US one. It's the Summer Games in, where does that say? Texas. And actually this one is Cheer for USA. And the most
Nice.
coveted badge that everybody wanted and was my first one is this one. So this is the US cheerleading badge because it's so colorful. Everybody
Wow.
wanted that. And that's the first one I got. And the way you get these badges is if an athlete has to decide to give them to you. So you don't just get it for no reason. You get
Okay.
it because they decided they wanted to give you one.
Yeah.
Either that or you had
So
one
this
there
is extra special. I mean
it's
that
extra
yeah.
special, yeah. So
Yeah.
like you don't come out of them with loads and loads, you come out with them with what you've put in. So this is what I see. This is what I put into the World Games. That's what I got back out. So it just this
That
is
that is
really special.
priceless, Mairead.
It
That
is,
is
and you know what?
priceless.
I was stressed about bringing it back to Ireland because I thought, how am I doing this? If I put this into my luggage get lost. If I bring it on hand luggage and they say, no, there's lots of pins in that. That's dangerous. I thought, oh my God, I'm actually going to have to leave the country to smuggle it out some other way.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
And so you came back, and I'm sure to your local team and club, you had a lot of moments to share, I'm sure. So
it was unbelievable, amazing. And one of the special things about working with Special Olympics is that my daughter comes with me. So and she will not miss a Thursday evening. So she's 13 now, and
okay.
she adores volunteering and working with these guys as much as I do. And that makes it such a special thing that she shares this with me. So she gets what I get out of it, and she gets that too. Like so,
You
it's
know
great.
what, that Murray, that's cool. That is so
Mhm.
important, really. You just reminded me. We had a couple events down in Florida uh, earlier this year that
Mhm.
two of our four grandchildren attended with my wife Ruth and I and our special needs son Kevin.
Yeah.
And our oldest granddaughter, she's 12. She'll be 12 soon, and our grandson 8. So they
Nice.
they joined a couple of times and went to one of our events and meetings. And it was a great experience for them. And in fact, they asked questions, to this day about it. Hey, how's so and so? What are you doing at the club? And they're going to do more events. So that's great. I'm sure you're proud of your daughter for.
I do a lot of work within Special Olympics on youth volunteering, because for me, in all the clubs I'm involved with, almost without exception, everyone that's volunteering in them is of the older generation. I mean, obviously, except me, Kevin, I'm so young. But anyway, but predominantly it's the older generation that's volunteering in it. And for me, for longevity for all these clubs, we need to get the youth more involved in them. So it's a big thing. I also run the local youth club here, and that's my plan, to merge my worlds so that the youth club will volunteer more of these things, but not because mommy said so or daddy said so or because the youth club said so, because they want to, because they see the benefit of doing this. So that's where I need the worlds to start colliding to get.
Yeah, that's the future, right? Boy, you just reminded me of another thing locally in the Villages, Florida. I didn't have availability to make this event. They had a meeting one night a couple months ago when we were last down there, maybe 6 weeks ago, but it was the local Central Florida special needs coaches from some of the different sports and that were holding a meeting in one of the recreation centers and trying to solicit coaches and volunteers, right? Because we live in the Villages part-time, and it's a retirement community, and none of us are getting younger.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out how to get more of the youth, certainly people younger than us, involved. So that's important. Yeah,
it definitely is. And I mean, you have to find a way to get past the it's not cool barrier, right? To make it cool, to make it that they get the benefit of what you can potentially get out of it. And I get that there's a little bit of it's fear, because I will say, like, quite openly, when I started with Special Olympics, I had a little bit of fear because I hadn't been around people with intellectual disabilities before. And I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't really know how to react. And nobody kind of said or took me aside and told me what you can and can't do. So we then, as the people running the clubs, we need to make sure that we're allaying all those fears, not saying, no, you don't need to worry about it, but actually addressing it, and speaking about openly what it is like to volunteer in these situations. Then that takes the fear out of it,
Sure. Well, it's not just fear. I mean, for someone that is interested in getting involved with anyone in the special needs community, I mean, my recommendation always is just, you got to be yourself, right? Don't worry that you may say the wrong thing that's either inappropriate or whatever. You just got to be yourself and not feel restricted, and you're going to learn rather quickly how to deal with some of the individuals, right? And I always say you're going to be immensely fulfilled, right? Just being a part of something like that. So
it's, like I said at the offset, right? Being able to be your authentic self is so liberating. I mean, how many times in your own world, outside of you slouching on the couch at home, how many places do you get to be your authentic self? Because depending on who's in front of you, you're putting on a different persona, whereas you don't need to, and it's so liberating.
Anything goes.
I need to call out because it'll be very, very visible if you're not. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, anything else you'd like to share about your experience, certainly at the World Games or even at your local club before we start to wrap up here?
Oh, it's get involved. Go find your local Special Olympics club and see what they need, because people are afraid, I can't join a basketball club. I don't know anything about basketball. But I'll guarantee you, in the basketball club, they need the shouty person, they need the admin person, they need the tidy up person, they need the wash the bibs person, they need the stand on the door person. So just because you don't know the sport doesn't mean you're not the perfect fit or the perfect
Yeah.
fit that they're looking for. So yeah, get involved, get out there and get involved.
So many different roles, right? That we think that, well, it's just they need help with, yeah, like you said, even administrative things and things like that. It takes a number of people to run a club or run an organization like this and pull it off. So there's no task that is too menial or unimportant, right? They're all important.
And I mean, be clear. So if you only have 2 hours a week, be clear. You just have 2 hours a week. And then
Yeah.
that's what you get allocated to. If you find then, actually, I couldn't be bothered sitting watching telly for those other 3 hours. I'd prefer to be here doing this. Suddenly you got 4 or 5 hours. And that's where I came from. I said, yeah, I've got an hour or two a week, no problem. Now I probably spend about 20 hours a week on the different clubs. But that's the choice that I've made. Like this is my hobby. My husband does bird watching, my daughter does teenager things. I volunteer with Special Olympics. So people say, where do you get the time for it? It's my hobby. You make
Yeah.
time for the things that you enjoy. So yeah, of course I'm going to make time for it. But yeah, I
No,
love it. I absolutely love it.
Mairead, thank you for all you're doing. This is incredible, and I love hearing stories like this. And something else before we sign off, I want to share with the audience. I just learned, Mairead, as I mentioned to you, I do a lot of coverage on these kind of stories in and around the Villages, Florida. And I learned just prior to this recorded podcast, Mairead has family in Ocala,
I do.
Florida, which is literally, I told her, 30 minutes from the Villages. And then Winter Haven also.
That's right. Yeah. So my uncle is a priest, so he's Father Patrick Sheedy, based in Ocala. If you reach out to Father Pat, you got to know he'll give you a job. So just be careful if you do meet him and say you've seen this podcast. He will give you a job.
I love it.
Yeah. And then my aunt, who's my godmother, lives in Winter Haven. So, yeah.
How long have they been there? Were they born and raised in Ireland and then relocated or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gosh, I should know this. I know Pat had recently his 50th Jubilee. Am I right in saying that? Or 60th? Oh God, he's going to kill me if he ever sees this. I should know the number.
Uncle Father Patrick in Ocala, does he still have the Irish accent?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I
There's
love
a
it.
twing there. Yeah, he definitely has a twing of maybe sounding a little bit more American. But when he's home, he's back to Uncle Pat.
Well, right. That's great. Well, I share this with the audience about your family because I'm putting it right out there. Mairead, if you and your family ever get a chance to visit your relatives, please let us know. Let me know. Got to get you over to the Villages. I mean, your enthusiasm, your energy, I could eat up part of a day by pulling together some of our special needs
I'd love
kids, right? And we could do some fun activity. They love
I'd love
music. We go to the squares in the Villages. We have 3 different town center outdoor squares that have stages where musicians play every night of the week from 5 to 9 p.m., 365 nights a year.
No way. That's so cool.
And some of our kids, they all, to their little social network, they'll text each other, or one of the parents or caregivers will say, hey, so-and-so band is playing at Brownwood tomorrow night. Who's going? And then the next thing you know, there's 20 families there or whatever, and just enjoying. So if you're ever visiting, we'll set up something like that, and you'll have a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds fab. I'll do my Irish dancing for you.
I love it. I love it. Well, Mairead, I want to thank you very much. It's been wonderful reconnecting with you. It's been last time we spoke was well over 2 years ago, and I'm so proud and thrilled to hear about what you're doing there in Ireland for the special needs community. So thank you again. And
and it's been really interesting watching your development and where you're going, where you're bringing this. So it's right back at you. Thanks, Mike.
I appreciate that. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So it's people like you that make it all worthwhile. And to our audience, thank you once again for investing in spending time with Kev Advotech, and we'll see you in the near future. Thanks again, Mairead, and take care, everyone.